Okay. Man, so many people tag me in these posts and want me to talk about it. And I don't want to get too much into what's true, what's not, as far as this particular story with Morph and in this upcoming X-Men 97. Are they going to be changing them to non-binary? Is it clown stuff if they do it? Yes, of course. But when stuff like this happens, as to be expected, there is going to be some online discussion. And during that online discussion, you can bet your bottom dollar people that don't actually know of the X-Men at all, maybe Googled it 10 seconds ago, are going to play these cards that are largely mythical, okay? And that's what I want to talk about in this video or in this segment. So, as to be expected, people, as this sort of story started to circulate, again, is it true, is it not? You're getting some conflicting reports right now about it. But you'd have, like this X-Men update, and as well as others, who are going to say things along the lines of, well, this is how it always was. So you can't be against them wanting to change something like this because, well, the X-Men have always been about social justice. It's always about what's woke. It's all about X, Y, and Z. And it's just a bunch of nonsense largely, but it's not going to stop people from perpetuating the myth. And that is the myth that the X-Men, particularly as when they were conceptualized and created, that they were created to either, one, fight social justice, right? Two, to be some sort of analogy for either gay folk or black folk. And on the other side, you have this big myth of, well, Professor X and Magneto being sort of stand-ins for like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. And obviously that's just not true. None of that stuff is true. What I would encourage you is to do this. I have a video that I did 4 years ago, going on 5. It's called X-Men and the Social Justice Myth. Go watch it. I lay down all the receipts that you're going to need on this, and there's a bunch of people sharing this around again. It is getting some slight uptick in viewership again. That all is mythical if you want to watch it. I mean, I guess to summarize it, I go through all of the evidence, Stan Lee's words himself, anybody saying that the X-Men was created to combat like a racial injustice or something like that, that is an objective lie. That is not true. The reason why the X-Men were created is, I'm going to be completely honest, because Stan Lee was lazy and he admitted it. The reason why he created the X-Men was because he wanted to have these groups of people that existed within their universe that he didn't have to really explain why they had powers. He said coming up with the powers are easy enough, but trying to give them origins and legitimize why they have the powers, that's a whole nother ball game. And if we could just say, hey, they were born that way, well, that was the way that it was. Now, it's important that you understand that distinction. That does not mean that people, I mean, with any sort of media, people understand this. That doesn't mean that people couldn't liken something to something that was happening during that era, right? Find some level of relatability. That can also be a thing. The best works have always done that. However, that does not mean that they were created to do such a thing. Oftentimes, as well, you get people that more so even refer to an era of X-Men that isn't even relevant to their creation. That's stuff that happened well over a decade after the fact, when you had the introduction, or rather Claremont was the one that was facilitating the X-Men. Like the whole Magneto thing and as well as even the Jewish situation, that was a retcon. And a lot of people don't seem to know that. He was not created to be that way, which is why I say it's always insulting. What are you saying about Brother Malcolm X when you try to say that he was created to be an example of Malcolm X, when for a decade plus, he was just a cutthroat, evil villain? And if that's what you want to say that Malcolm X was, you're an idiot. He's way more than that, and that's not fair. So go watch that video. None of that crap is true. You'll see people share this history.com article, which again doesn't really go through any of the actual evidence. It's hearsay. It's all that stuff. And even if you go with Claremont's influence when dealing with those characters, had nothing to do with the civil rights era. Nothing whatsoever. He's flat out admitted it. He was influenced more so by the more like began and the Jewish dichotomy was more so what he was influenced by, not the civil rights era. So go watch the video. Again, the title is X-Men and the Social Justice Myth. Thanks for watching. Be sure to head over to Rippaverse.com to check out our comic book company. We have books, plenty of merchandise, and even some glorious animations from Rippaverse Studios. Next up, possibly our most anticipated book thus far, Yaira.